History nearly forgot him. Rome tried to erase him, but the truth survived carved in stone. This is the story of Emperor Silvanus. He ruled Rome for less than a year, maybe just a few months. Around 378 AD, according to some ancient sources, he was a great leader who brought peace and prosperity to the empire. But then, he vanished. Quite literally. All records of his reign were erased, statues destroyed, coins melted, his name scraped from scrolls and monuments. It's as if he never existed. So, what happened to Silvanus? Was he betrayed by the very Senate that proclaimed him emperor? Was he the victim of a political conspiracy? Or could it be that he never existed at all? Today, we dig into one of Rome's strangest mysteries, the lost emperor they tried to erase. The story of Silvanus is a strange one. He is like that one student you vaguely remember sitting beside you in school, except no one else remembers him, and there's no proof he was ever there. But unlike that classmate, Silvanus has left behind a single piece of undeniable evidence. The reason we even know he existed at all. It's a stone tablet buried beneath a forgotten fountain in the Villa of the Quintili. This inscription, dated to 378 AD, is the only known record that survived the purge, and it confirms beyond any doubt that Silvanus was proclaimed emperor during the reign of Constantius II. By Roman standards, Silvanus was an unlikely candidate for emperor. He was the son of a freed slave and a former prostitute, and spent much of his early life as a gladiator, fighting for survival in the arena. And yet, against all odds, he rose through the ranks of power. Eventually, he was appointed governor of Pannonia, a vital province on the empire's frontier. When Emperor Constantius II launched his campaign against the Goths in 376 AD, he left Silvanus in charge of the region. Just 2 years later, after Constantius' death, Silvanus seized the moment and proclaimed himself emperor. But there are a few problems with this story. First, the inscription doesn't actually say that Silvanus was appointed governor by It only states that he was proclaimed governor of Pannonia, with no mention of who gave him the title. Second, according to Aurelius Victor, a Roman historian from the 4th century, Silvanus was already governor when Constantius arrived in the province. Victor even claims that Constantius appointed Silvanus as his deputy, a surprising move, considering what Victor also wrote about him. According to the same source, Silvanus was a man of low birth and low morals, the son of a prostitute, a former slave, and a gladiator. Would an emperor like Constantius really entrust such a man with power? It seems unlikely, but those are the facts. As far as the historical record shows, after proclaiming himself Augustus, Silvanus led a campaign against the Goths, and, according to some sources, succeeded in bringing them under Roman control. He also launched military actions against the Sarmatians and the Quadi, though those battles didn't go as well. And this is where things get murky again. The sources begin to contradict one another, and the true fate of Silvanus becomes difficult to trace. According to the epitome of the life of Silvanus, an anonymous work from the late empire, Silvanus was betrayed by his own senate. Forced into exile, he fled to Constantinople, where he reportedly lived out the rest of his life in quiet luxury, receiving a pension from the imperial court. But according to Aurelius Victor, the story ends very differently. Silvanus traveled to Rome, hoping to take control of the imperial government, but he quickly discovered that the Senate wasn't on his side. In a desperate move, he tried to bribe the senators with gold, but they refused. So he fled to Alexandria, where he attempted to mint new coins bearing his image. But the mint workers recognized him not as an emperor, but as a former gladiator who had once fought in the city's arena. They refused to strike his coin. Humiliated, Silvanus returned to Rome one final time. This time, he tried to seize the imperial treasury, but he was captured. On the orders of the Praetorian prefect, Silvanus was executed. And just like that, his story ended, erased from memory, buried beneath history. So in the end, either he was murdered by the Senate, or he died trying to seize the imperial treasury. The truth is, we don't know. There are no surviving inscriptions, no coins, and no statues from his time as emperor, no physical evidence from his reign. And that's exactly why many historians believe Silvanus may have never existed at all. In 1796, an Italian archaeologist named Giovanni Battista Piranesi discovered the ruins of a temple dedicated to Silvanus in the heart of the Roman Forum. But Roman history is layered. Literally, temples were often built over older temples, and this one was no exception. The structure Piranesi uncovered was likely constructed during the reign of Marcus Aurelius, far earlier than Silvanus' supposed rule. Archaeologists also uncovered a bronze statue of Silvanus from the same period. But here is the catch. Every other statue of Silvanus that has ever been found was created long after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, which raises the question, were these statues honoring a forgotten emperor, or a completely different figure? And then, things get even stranger. In 2012, researchers uncovered a bronze coin dating back to the reign of Constantius II, and it bears the head of But here's the problem. Silvanus wasn't even born until after Constantius had died. So how could a coin exist with both of their likenesses? It doesn't add up unless, of course, the figure on that coin wasn't the Silvanus we've been talking about. It was someone else who held the same title or name. Maybe another mystery layered on top of an already forgotten legend. So, if Silvanus was truly an emperor of Rome, why don't we have any official records of him? Why was his name erased? As if he never existed. The answer may lie in Roman politics. Silvanus wasn't exactly popular among the elites of Rome. Take the annual New Year's greetings list, an official document sent by the emperor each year. Yet other short-lived rulers like Domitius Alexander and Magnantius, who only controlled fragments of the empire, are still remembered. Silvanus, on the other hand, ruled for a time as the true emperor, and yet remains a historical ghost, deliberate erasure, or something even stranger. So it seems that Silvanus's story was deliberately removed from the history books. But the question is, who did it, and why? If we examine the few sources that mention him, two names stand out. The first is Aurelius Victor, a 4th century Roman historian. He authored 2 major works on Roman emperors, the Caesar Chronicle and the Epitome of the Caesar Chronicle. Now here's where it gets strange. Silvanus appears in only one of these works, the Epitome, and there's strong reason to believe that Victor may have intentionally suppressed Silvanus's legacy. Whether out of political loyalty or something darker, we'll never know for sure. In fact, in 1836, British historian Sir Henry Maine made a startling observation. Every reference to Silvanus appeared to have been deliberately removed from Aurelius Victor's original writings. Even more suspicious, the passage describing Silvanus's death is identical to a section Victor wrote about another obscure emperor, Domitius. And there's more. Aurelius Victor was a Christian, writing during the reign of Theodosius I, the emperor responsible for transforming Rome into a Christian state. Silvanus, on the other hand, was a pagan, so it's highly likely that Victor, wanting to stay in the emperor's favor, chose to erase Silvanus from the record. But what about the epitome of the life of Silvanus? That source tells a very different story. It paints Silvanus in a much more favorable light, and even accuses Aurelius Victor of being a liar. This document was written nearly 300 years after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. By then, any first-hand knowledge of Silvanus, if he ever existed, was long gone, which means the epitome is, at best, speculation, and at worst, pure legend. As a historical source, it's highly unreliable. For all we know, Silvanus may have ruled longer than anyone realizes. Maybe he did escape to Constantinople, living out his days in quiet luxury. But the truth is, we'll never really know. With the records destroyed and the evidence erased, we can't even prove that Silvanus existed at all. And yet, I believe he did. Because if he was just a myth, why would Rome go to such lengths to erase him? To me, the fragments we do have, the inscription, the stories, the attempts to hide him, speak louder than silence ever could. But that's just my view. What do you think? Did Emperor Silvanus really exist? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to uncover more lost legends from history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more lost legends from history.